Crime fiction is a subgenre of fiction. So I thought a good place to start would be to look at the two broad categories of fiction. Literary fiction is typically character-driven and usually about a transitional passage in life. For example, coming-of-age novels, or overcoming some obstacle like abandonment or drug addiction, perhaps, facing mortality, a major event in life that the protagonist has to address. Sometimes literary fiction addresses global issues. It's a reflection on the human condition, good versus evil, autonomy versus independence, or interdependency, that sort of thing. Popular fiction, on the other hand, and by the way, it's sometimes called genre or commercial fiction, is plot-driven. And this is a terribly important distinction, character-driven versus plot-driven. Within the broad category of popular fiction, there are subgenres, so that we have romance, fantasy, horror, science fiction, speculative fiction, sometimes referred to as sci-fi spec, and then, of course, this fantasy, paranormal, and what we're here to talk about, crime fiction. Within the broad category of crime fiction, there is, in fact, I think we're down to subheadings, right? And that's what I would like to go over today so that you can begin to understand why it matters. All of what I'm talking about has to do with reader expectations. And we're going to go through an example in a moment so that you can really begin to understand the significance of this. But think about it this way. When a reader picks up a book of a certain type, that reader has a certain set of expectations. They are looking for a certain reading experience. That's very different than if they pick up literary fiction, for example. So the reader who reads thrillers has a different set of expectations than the reader who reads traditional mysteries or romantic suspense. And unless you are familiar with the conventions of the genre, you're going to, or I guess I should say you might veer off in a way that won't please your readers, and you're going to have trouble getting that novel the attention it deserves and getting it published. So the first step in all this is understanding the conventions of the genre.